This is Chris.
Resident Evil 2002 for the GameCube originally. I have no idea why it came out on the GameCube, and this is before Chris Redfield became the absolute alpha Chad that he is now. This was back when he was little babyface Chris. Isn't that right, Chris? Yes, it is. There we go. Now, for some unknown reason, Nintendo back in the day thought they could kind of, I guess, get their hands on the Resident Evil franchise. And I remember being real young and buying a GameCube in 2002 just so I could play the remake of Resident Evil 1, and then promptly sold the GameCube with the game once I completed it with with Jill actually. I never got to complete it with Chris because basically that playing as Chris is hard mode. But yeah, originally released in 2002 and 2014 on Steam. I've had this in my library for a while. I've never fully completed the game as Chris, mainly because Chris is basically hard mode. And for the longest time ever, like an absolute Riri, I was playing it on easy mode because it gives you three kind of, as a kid it was cryptic. Now I just realise I'm being a retard. But it says, option 1 I thought was hard, option 2 was normal, and then the bottom one was very easy or something. As it describes it as, I like climbing mountains, option 1. Option 2, I like hard hikes. Option 3, I like long bike rides. I don't ask me why that's the difficulty options, but it is. And I selected, I like hiking, thinking it was normal. Now this whole time I'd been playing it on bloody easy mode. So when I've gone back, I've realised, oh shit, it means climbing mountains, obviously, as an adult, that's hard mode. So normal, which is bloody hard when you can only hold 6 items, but Chris can tank some more hits than Jill, he's faster than Jill, and I've actually been able to bring down a few zombies with a knife without taking any damage using the new alternative controls, which are really handy. If you are someone that struggles with tank controls, they've added alternative controls, which I actually use. So essentially you use the thumbstick to move around, and it works really, really well. You can spin on the spot and just keep running around the zombie, stabbing him in the ankles, set fire to him, boom, no more crimson heads. And that's where I'll get to the crimson heads now. See, in this remake, unlike the original, if you do not decapitate a zombie, if you do not pop its head off with a lucky pistol shot or blow its head off with a shotgun, the best tactic is to wait till it gets close, quickly aim up with the shotgun, boom, head comes off, and you no longer have to deal with a crimson head. If you do not know what a crimson head is, lucky you, they're bastards. They're really fast, they can one-shot kill you, they run like Usain Bolt, and they're pretty hard to kill. So if you only have a pistol on you, well, just the end of you. Now Chris gets a lighter. Jill is, as we all know, the master of unlocking and master of sandwiches. But Chris gets a lighter in his inventory that never comes out of it. It's always in there. Unlike Jill, who has the lockpick, Chris has to use little keys. But I have grown to love playing as Chris now. Yes, I hold 2 less items, but it means you don't have to hold as much health because he can tank a couple more hits. And plus you have the most annoying character in the Resident Evil series, Rebecca Chambers. I have a hatred for Rebecca Chambers because
I'm a newcomer.
She's just this squeaky, do-gooder, annoying as hell character.
I'm really sorry.
Now I won't go into the whole story of Resident Evil, just in case you fancy going back and playing some of the classics and you don't know much about how it all begun. I don't want to ruin someone's first experience of essentially the first proper Resident Evil. I know this isn't the first, and you had the PS1, which I am old enough unfortunately to have played back in the day. I was so scared I couldn't walk around the corner to kill the first zombie. But you've got the original team that go missing, they send in the next team, and it all, it's typical Umbrella, there's always a lab underneath. But the star of the show is the mansion itself and the exploration and the not knowing. It's a shame that we live in a time where everyone can just look up a guide and Google everything, because I'm not saying we didn't have the internet back in 2002, but it wasn't quite as it obviously is now, where you can just click, what's the answer to this? Thanks Google, bye. You had to use your head a lot more, and as a kid it's quite hard using your head. Hell, it's hard using your head as an adult, to be honest. But I would suggest your first time maybe pick Jill, because she can hold an extra 2 items, although You will use one of those spaces for always having a first aid spray or some herbs, because she's weaker, so if she gets bitten, she dies in like 2 hits on normal, whereas Chris can tank 3 hits. I know that doesn't sound like much, but you know, that extra bite will give you a time to heal or get away or get some kills in or whatever. And then there's also Richard, who doesn't exactly last long.
Chris, stop!
And a few other team members that I'm not going to bother mentioning. I'll just let you find them on your own in case you haven't played it. But along with the graphic updates and overhauls, there's also, like I say, the Crimson Heads. There's a few new surprises. There's a few new puzzles. There's quite a lot of things compared to the original 1996. I think I played it in 99. So I was 9 years old when I played the first Resident Evil, terrified of it. But this is the peak version. If you're going to go back and play the original and see where it all started before Chris became an alpha Chad, this is where it all began, and I would highly recommend you play it. I think there was a sale just on where all Resident Evil games are on sale for like a couple of quid. You can pick this up for like, even when it's not in a sale, I think it's like $7.99. When it does go in a sale, I'm not even joking, it goes down to like 99p. So you owe it to yourself, really, if you're a fan of the series, to play this. This is definitely the best way to play the original game. Otherwise, you're going to end up with Chris looking like he's a fucking Minecraft character with a box head and Jill with a pointy triangle tits. One more thing as well they've added is the defense items. So Jill and Chris get a knife. So if you get grabbed, the limited use items, you stab the zombie in the head. It won't kill it, but it'll get it off you and stop it from having a little chomp on your neck. And then Jill gets a stun gun, a taser. I don't know, it depends which country you're from. I just call it a stun gun or a taser. She sticks it in the zombie's head. Now that doesn't stop it, I don't think it stops it from becoming a Crimson Head when you go back in the mansion later on, or if a zombie's left on its own long enough, it wakes up as a Crimson Head, which are really hard to deal with. Now Chris gets a flashbang, even though it looks like an actual grenade, it's just a flashbang, he stuffs it in the zombie's mouth. Then you can either run back and let it go off on its own and it'll remove the zombie's head and then it won't come back as a Crimson Head, or you can shoot it and pop its head off, but it can damage you if you're too close to it. And I don't think the story needs too much explaining. Guess what? It's Umbrella. Whoa, shocker. And with Jill, you get Barry to save your ass every 10 seconds. So anytime you're in trouble, Barry seems to just pop up and save Jill. She also gets a bazooka, which Chris doesn't, which I had no idea he doesn't get the bazooka. That was news to me, unless it just didn't turn up for me. I don't know. Normally it's on Dead Forest. There's a guy called Forrest, and you find him eaten to death by crows, and he has a bazooka on him. And Barry gives it to her. But as Chris, you don't get the bazooka. But there'd probably be too many weapons for him to handle anyway, since he can only hold 6 damn items. And even though his knife is in his holster, it still counts as a bloody item in his inventory, which is really annoying. Along with the Crimson Heads and zombies, you've got hunters, you've got giant snakes, giant sharks. The sharks aren't really a problem, you just run around them, really. There's some little snakes that drop down and poison you, which can be quite annoying. But overall, it's the start of it, really. So it was when they were first tinkering with the TG whatever virus it was back then. But the whole environment is just fantastic. Like the music, the atmosphere, the mansion itself, the outer grounds that you're seeing in the background now where the residents or the scientists live. And when you come back in the mansion, there'll be new enemies in there, and it'll keep you on your toes. And first time playing, I suggest not using a guide. So I'm going to keep it short, keep it sweet. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and I'll see you on the next review. See ya.